Ours was an average, unattractive loser living in Japan, stuck in a boring job. One day, on his way home, he suffered a heart attack and died instantly. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in a completely different world, staring at the face of a beautiful woman while lying on a bed. Initially, he thought he was in a hospital until he noticed a flying dog and a maid who congratulated the blonde woman nearby. Ars then saw his reflection and realized he had been reincarnated as a child in an alternate world. 3 years passed without issue, and Ars learned to read and write, gaining immense knowledge about this new world. He discovered that he lived in the Summerfirth Kingdom, which had been divided into 7 kingdoms before one of them waged war and united the continent. Born into a noble family in the small village of Lamberg, he was excited to learn that magic existed but was disappointed that he was too young to practice it. Ars lived a luxurious life with several servants catering to his needs and delicious meals prepared daily by the in-house chef. He also discovered that he had a unique ability to see the stats of any person he wanted. To test it, he went to the training hall, where household guards and aspiring soldiers trained. Everyone was happy to see him, and he noticed a man struggling with a spear. Using his ability, Ars saw that the man had D-rank abilities with a spear and sword but had B-rank in archery. He suggested the man try archery, which he reluctantly did, only to hit the mark dead center on his first attempt. The man continued to shoot arrows with surprising accuracy, thanking Ars for discovering his hidden talent. When others asked Ars how he knew, he claimed it was just instinct. Ars couldn't see his own stats, which saddened him, but he moved on. At dinner, he sat across from his intimidating father and checked his stats, discovering he had rank abilities across the board. His father asked if he had told the man to try archery, and upon Ars's honest reply, he praised him for recognizing talent, a valuable skill for a future lord. Ars began learning more about ruling and the harsh realities of the world. The rulers of the Summerfirth Empire were corrupt, leading to revolts due to poor living conditions and police brutality, much like modern-day America. He realized a civil war might be imminent and feared he would have to lead his forces, doubting his ability to protect his family and the people of Lamberg. The next morning, Ars snuck out of the house and wandered through the village market, using his ability to search for talented individuals. Despite his efforts, he only found people with no notable prospects. Tired and disheartened, he sat down and noticed a commotion. A racist white woman had thrown a young man, a Malchin, onto the streets, calling him filthy and disgusting. Ars remembered reading that Malkins were brought to Summerfirth as slaves. Feeling sorry for the hungry and defeated man, Ars offered him a piece of bread, surprising him. The man, named Rai, reluctantly accepted and introduced himself. Ars used his ability and was shocked to find that Rai had multiple ANS rank skills, realizing he could become one of the strongest people in the kingdom. Ars offered Rai a job as his bodyguard, bribing him with promises of tasty food. Rai agreed, and they returned to Ars's house. At dinner, a racist maid served Rai an old plate with beans, but Ars insisted they eat together, shutting down any objections. Rai shared his story of being raised by mercenaries until a recent battle left him alone. Feeling bad for him, Ars took Rai to his father, asking to hire him as a bodyguard. Initially, his father refused, citing Malkin's supposed worthlessness, but Ars insisted on Rai's talents. His father agreed to give Rai a chance if he could land a single hit on him in combat. Despite the odds, Rai fought valiantly and impressed everyone, earning his place as Ars's bodyguard. Months passed, and Rai proved his worth, teaching the soldiers and winning over the staff with his skills and demeanor. Ars and Rai studied together, learning about the kingdom's decline and the looming threat of civil war. They realized the need to find more talented individuals to strengthen their position. Rai predicted that the nearby county, led by an old and fragile lord, would be the first to erupt in conflict over succession. Ars and Rai set out to scout for talent, with Ars's father advising them to find a good mage. In a nearby town, they searched for talent among the locals. Despite initial disappointment, Ars stumbled upon a poor area, surprised to see such poverty in a wealthy city. Rai explained that every place with rich people also had extreme poverty, teaching Ars a valuable lesson about the world they lived in. Reconsidering his dreams of making his village like this city, Ars's eyes sparkled as he noticed the bustling market filled with various goods. Suddenly, a man claimed to sell dragon eggs imported from a different continent. and Ars was instantly captivated by the idea of having a pet dragon. He eagerly asked the seller for the price, and with a sly smile, the seller offered the extremely rare eggs for 1 silver each. Ars decided to buy 3 and began searching for his money when Ray pushed him back, putting a dagger to the seller's throat. Ray accused the seller of daring to sell counterfeit items to a noble, punishable by death. The seller insisted he had done nothing wrong, but Ray argued that importation from other continents had been banned for a year, making the eggs either illegal or smuggled. Ray was ready to kill the seller when Ars intervened, calming Ray, who apologized and awaited any punishment. Ars reassured him not to worry. They later sat down for lunch, and Ars went to get dessert from a stall. Suddenly, a pickpocket stole his money pouch and ran off. Ray quickly grabbed Ars and pursued the thief, who weaved through the crowd. Ray managed to snag the thief's cloak, revealing a young blue-haired girl. She hurried into an alleyway and was surrounded by hoodlums who began beating her. Ars tried to intervene, but the leader attacked him, only to be swiftly knocked out by Ray. Ray then took down the other 2 men, forcing them to flee. Ars used his magic eye to see that the girl possessed S-rank magic skills, which astonished him. He asked her to join him as his vassal. Ray protested, calling her a thief, but Ars promised her a comfortable life with a salary and good food. The girl, however, was defiant, expressing her disdain for nobles, whom she accused of exploiting the poor. She revealed she had been a slave for a noble but had run away. Despite Ars's attempts to reason with her, she claimed she had never used magic before. Ray, seeing it was futile, asked the girl to return the pouch, which she did without argument. A group of small children then entered the alley and huddled around the girl, revealing she was taking care of orphans. Ars, feeling pity, gave her the pouch, and they left as evening set. That night, they heard children crying about the girl, Char, being kidnapped by 3 men. They learned she was taken to a slave trader on the other side of the city, where she was being beaten. The slaver warned the goons to be careful with her face, as a perverted noble wanted to buy her. Char, defiant, snatched back her pouch of money but was quickly caught again. Just as the slaver tried to break her spirit, the door burst open, and Ray entered, effortlessly dealing with the guards. Ars followed, checking on Char. The slaver, realizing Ars was a noble, asked what he wanted. Ars demanded Char's release, but the slaver argued that selling slaves was legal in the county. Ars insisted, and Char urged him to run. Ars saw that Char had lost all hope and gave an impassioned speech about hope in the future. This moved Char, who began to cry. The slaver, now irritated, summoned more goons. Ray swiftly defeated them, even handling 2 mages with ease. The slaver then called for a giant of a man, but Ray skillfully defeated him as well. Terrified, the slaver argued legality again, but Ars offered to buy Char. The slaver claimed she was already sold, but Ray threatened him, forcing the slaver to accept the money and legally sell Char to Ars. As they left the slaver's office, Char led them to a hill with a beautiful view of the town, her secret place of solace. She thanked them, and Ray gave her a magic locket to test her abilities. To everyone's astonishment, she conjured a massive fireball, confirming her incredible magic skills. They returned to Ars's home, where his father initially dismissed Char. However, after witnessing her powerful magic, he welcomed her into the family. 3 years later, Char had grown into a formidable mage, significantly contributing to their military victories. Ars, now with 2 younger siblings, continued to search for more talent. Learning about 2 skilled hunter brothers, he set out with Ray and Char to meet them. They encountered the brothers after Char joined them, and Ars checked their stats, finding them quite impressive. The brothers, with their stats well above average but not extraordinary, invite Ars and his companions to their home. Their father greets them warmly, offering a feast of fresh meat from their hunt. He apologizes if the meal is insufficient, not expecting the visit of the Lord's son. Ars reassures him with a smile, saying the meal is more than enough. Char, unable to contain herself, eagerly enjoys the feast. The father inquires about the purpose of their visit, and Ars explains that he has heard tales of the brothers' exceptional hunting skills and wanted to see for himself. After observing them, he expresses his desire for them to join the Lent County Army, believing they could be of great help. The father is overjoyed, unable to believe his sons might become high-ranking soldiers. While discussing the youngest son, Char notices a small boy attempting to steal a piece of bread and quietly run away. The father scolds the boy, instructing him to introduce himself properly. Initially dismissing the boy, Ars decides to check his stats out of curiosity. What he sees next astounds him. The boy possesses over 100 intellect and is an S-rank tactician. Ars is so shocked that he spills his drink, coughing as he realizes this level of intellect is legendary, likely unmatched in the entire kingdom. The father apologizes for the boy, explaining that unlike his older brothers, Rose is clumsy. However, Ars, with starry eyes, declares he wants Rose as his vassal, shocking both the father and the brothers. The father urges Ars to reconsider, arguing that Rose would be a nuisance. Nevertheless, Ars approaches the child, asking if he would like to be his vassal and work for him. Terrified, the boy refuses, thinking he will be forced into battle and die easily. His father scolds him for speaking to a noble that way, but Rose runs away, hiding in his room. Ars, saddened by the rejection, is reassured by the father, who explains that Rose has shut himself off since his mother's death and never practices hunting skills, unlike his brothers. Ars insists that physical strength isn't everything and that Rose's incredible intellect makes him an excellent tactician. Determined, Ars decides to try convincing Rose once more. Ars finds Rose reading a book in his room. As soon as Rose sees Ars, he starts crying again. Ars tries to calm him, assuring him he means no harm and asking if he likes reading books. The boy explains that his mother used to read to him, and he rereads the only book they have to remember her. Ars sweetens the deal by promising access to his vast library, filled with every book imaginable. Enticed, Rose asks if he can take one book, and Ars agrees. Later, they return to the mansion with the three brothers, but Rose starts crying when a good boy tries to play with him. Ars asks Char to show the older brothers around while he takes Rose to the library. Rose is immediately entranced by the vast collection of books, eagerly picking them out. Ars mentions he needs to study and leaves Rose to explore. Hours later, Ars wakes up, realizing he had fallen asleep. He rushes to the library, fearing Rose might have run away. Instead, he finds Rose asleep, surrounded by books. Ray informs Ars that Rose is incredible, learning new words instantly and possessing deep thinking skills. Ars checks Rose's stats, amazed to see they have already increased significantly. The older brothers, arriving, start teasing Rose for being surrounded by books, claiming he can't even read. This surprises Ars, who asks what they mean. The brothers explain that their mother was the only one who could read and that Rose only heard her stories. She never taught him to read. Rose, waking up, reveals that he learned to read by listening to his mother and matching her words with the shapes in the book. The brothers are shocked, recalling that Rose was only 2 years old at the time. Rose then drops a bombshell, stating he remembers everything since the day he was born. The next day, Ars boosts Rose's confidence, telling him that hunting isn't only about archery. Making traps is also important. Rose admits he has thought about it but lacked confidence. Ars encourages him to try. Later, the father arrives in the jungle, astonished to see a huge trap made by Rose, already holding several boars. Rose explains his method, painting the door yellow to attract the male boars and using a special herb to keep females and babies away, preventing overhunting and ensuring the species' survival. He looks to his father for approval but receives none, leaving him saddened. That night, Rose sits alone in his room, blaming himself for his mother's death, as she fell ill after giving birth to him. Crying, he overhears his father and brothers drinking on the roof. The brothers ask why their father is so strict with Rose. The father, tearfully, admits it's his fault for being strict because Rose was bad at hunting. He explains that he is cold to Rose to make him hate him, hoping Rose will leave for Lord Aores's place, where his abilities will be rewarded and he will live a happy life. Hearing this, Rose realizes his father loves him and cries. The next morning, Ars arrives to pick up the older brothers, expecting Rose to stay behind. To his surprise, Rose rushes out with a huge bag, telling his father he could never hate him and promising to become a great man, then return so they can always be together. His father, moved, starts crying. All the brothers take oaths of loyalty to the young lord, ready for the adventures ahead. 3 years pass. When Ars turns 9, his father falls ill. Ars requests to lead their army into war, but his father refuses. A year ago, the Duke of Mission passed away, naming his younger son as successor. The older brother, refusing to accept the will, accused his sibling of manipulation. Supported by many nobles due to his recent war feats, the older brother's rebellion split mission into two, resulting in civil war. The neighboring Duchy of Sates took advantage of the chaos to invade, escalating tensions. Ars believes he must go to war, but his father insists there are more important matters. His fiancée is coming to visit. Ars panics, having forgotten about his engagement, arranged before he was born. His father hands him a letter from his fiancée. Flustered, Ars runs to alert his friends. He had never had a girlfriend in his past life and is nervous about meeting his fiancée. A maid informs him that she is already at the gate. Nervously, Ars goes to receive her. The girl, Lisha, introduces herself, and Ars is smitten by her cuteness before noticing her high diplomacy and ambition stats. He is taken aback, thinking Lisha might be dangerous and could try to take over his family. However, her smile disarms him, and he starts singing for her instead. Lisha and her butler enter, observing the servants' preparations. Her butler almost makes a racist comment on seeing Rai, but Lisha stops him, knowing of Rai's great battlefield achievements, and makes the butler apologize. The butler does, and Ars says it's fine. The maids present Lisha with a bouquet of roses to welcome her, which she cheerfully accepts. She walks around, complimenting the house and politely greeting the servants. Ars watches in awe, unable to understand her true intentions. At dinner, Lisha points out that Ars has some sauce on his face. Flustered, he quickly wipes it, thinking Lisha is very skilled at communication and that he can easily make small talk with her. He finds her super cute and would have fallen for her if he hadn't seen her high diplomacy and ambition stats. Lisha then remarks on the lively appearance of the city of Lambert. Ars replies that he would have loved to show her around if the weather were clear. Lisha tells Ars that the rain will stop soon. Almost instantly, it stops raining and the clouds part, revealing the sunshine. Ars freaks out and asks Lisha if she can control the weather. She denies this, explaining that she had simply noticed the clouds on her way there and figured they would pass quickly. Lisha then asks Ars to show her around town now that the weather has cleared. Ars is happy to oblige, and they head to the market. There, everyone greets Ars and inquires about the girl with him. He introduces Lisha as his fiancée, and the ladies quickly spread the good news. Soon, they come across two merchants arguing because one had delivered the wrong type of magic stones to the other. Ars feels the need to resolve the conflict as the heir of the territory, fearing Lisha might think him incompetent otherwise. Suddenly, Char appears and offers to silence the merchants for good. Lisha quickly intervenes, recognizing Char as the legendary magician and claiming to be a great fan. She butters Char up, asks for a handshake, and wins her over. Lisha then asks Ars to let her handle the conflict in exchange for a small favor. Before he can respond, Lisha is already addressing the merchants. She urges them to stop fighting to avoid ruining their handsome faces, introduces herself as Ars's fiancée, and congratulates them. She then offers to buy sound magic stones from one merchant, as her territory lacks them, and to sell fire magic stones from her territory to the other merchant, as they have a volcano. She credits Ars for the idea, and the merchants believe her, thanking Ars. He seizes the moment to advise them to always keep written records of their deals. After everyone disperses, Ars thanks Lisha, and they resume their tour. In the evening, as they return home, Lisha wants to cash in her favor. Ars nervously waits, but Lisha simply asks what kind of girls he likes. Ars is stunned, as he doesn't understand her true intentions, knowing her intelligence far surpasses his. He tells her he likes people who are honest and express their intentions truthfully. She smiles and says she will take it as a reference. That night, they have a nice dinner. As Ars goes to bed, he is shocked to find Lisha hiding under his sheets. She asks him to be quiet. Ars tells her she is in the wrong room, but Lisha says she came to surprise him. She references their conversation about honesty and wants to talk openly with him now. Ars pours them tea, and Lisha asks what he thinks of her. Ars spits out his tea at the sudden question and asks what she means. Lisha reveals she has a skill that allows her to see people's emotions, even when hidden. When she first met Ars, she saw doubt on his face. She tried to be friendly to lessen his doubt, but it only grew, and he even asked her to be honest with him. She asks Ars what exactly he is suspicious about. Realizing the trouble started because he saw her status, Ars decides to be honest. He reveals that he could see the attributes of others and saw her high diplomacy and ambition, which made him wonder if her nice behavior was an act. Lisha understands and admits her high ambitions. When Ars asks what kind, she blushes and says it is every woman's ambition to find an outstanding man who will fall in love with her at first sight. Ars turns red, and the atmosphere becomes tense. He realizes that as a noble's daughter, Lisha needs an outstanding husband to thrive and wonders what she thinks of him, the heir of a small territory. She laughs, saying she read his thoughts accurately. She admits that if Ars had turned out to be a lousy person, she would have ended the engagement. But now she truly wants to marry him. She believes their family is weak but sees talent in Ars to make it powerful. She saw how loved he is by his people, and when they learned he had a fiancée, they were genuinely happy. Lisha claims this is proof he is an amazing man and has fallen in love with him. Ars turns red again, and Lisha wishes him good night as she returns to her room. Alone, Ars freaks out, realizing Lisha's ambition is actually quite sweet. Outside, Lisha is also flustered by her bold actions but feels happy. The next day, Lisha returns to her territory, contemplating the noble world full of greed and lies. She has always been troubled by her ability to read people's emotions because they were often nasty. She once thought her ability was a curse until she saw a woman happily married to a strong, prosperous man. Lisha realized she could escape the negative world by marrying an outstanding man. She honed the art of pleasing people by reading their emotions, seeking a strong family to marry into. Initially, she had no intentions of marrying Ars because of his weak family and his initial suspicious behavior. However, while traveling through the market, Ars apologized for the rough roads hurting her tender feet and brought her ointment. This act of kindness, coupled with the respect he commanded, won her heart. She immediately saw him as her ideal man and fell in love with him at that moment. Lisha now thinks Ars is capable and kind, but she cannot let this become his weakness. As someone who will be closest to him, she swears to destroy all obstacles in their way. After their first meeting, Ars and Lisha begin exchanging letters frequently. Ars feels anxious because he had never chatted with a girl like this, but manages to flirt a little. Lisha visits him again, and he gives her flower seeds. She thanks him and reminds him he hasn't responded to her confession yet. Ars is flustered, but she tells him to take his time as she will work hard to make him fall for her. They continue exchanging letters, and during a brief period of peace, Ars's father starts recovering. Ars wants to tell Lisha he has fallen in love with her too. Some time passes, and Lord Raven's health deteriorates. A doctor tells Ars to prepare for the worst. Meanwhile, the ruler of Mission is assassinated by a soldier, who then kills himself. The news reaches Lord Raven, who discusses it with his council. Rose explains that a deadly war between the ruler's sons is inevitable, and they should prepare their forces. Raven believes the county chief Lumi will support the older son, meaning they must do the same. However, Raven collapses and falls unconscious. A summon letter finally arrives, ordering the Lord to present himself at the council. Ars reads it and tells Rai that his father is too ill to go. Rai agrees and says he and Char will go. Ars insists on accompanying them in his father's stead. The next morning, they reach the county of Kanar. Ars is taken aback, never imagining a place this vast could be held by a single lord. As they approach the castle gates, the guard stops them. Ars hands over the letter from Lord Lumi, explaining he is here to represent the loving family. The guard is skeptical but quickly recognizes Char as the Fire Princess and Ray as the Grim Reaper of the loving family. Accepting them, the guard leads them to the meeting hall, but they encounter one of Lord Lumi's vassals, Ren. Ren, a well-rounded man with above-average stats, greets them warmly. He expresses surprise at seeing the young lord instead of his father, then turns to Ray and Char, asking if they would join Lord Lumi as his vassals. Ars feels scared, but his loyal vassals decline the offer. Entering the meeting hall, Ars feels out of place due to the intense atmosphere and takes a seat. An old man, recognizing Ars from his childhood, offers him cookies, while a fat man looks at him with disdain. The door opens, and everyone stands as Lord Lumi enters with Ren. Ars discreetly examines Lord Lumi's stats, finding them high but not as impressive as his father's. He realizes that Ren complements Lumi's abilities, making them a formidable team. Lord Lumi explains that the ruler of Mission was murdered, leading to an impending war. He asserts that they must all support Lord Curran, the older son, over the younger one, inviting any objections. The old man and the fat man quickly agree, and Ars follows suit, promising support. Lord Lumi continues, advising them to maintain a standing army to defend against possible attacks from neighboring counties. After dismissing the court, Lumi praises Ars for attending in his father's stead, commending the small territory of Lamberg for its growing strength. Just as Ars prepares to leave, the fat man stops him, introducing himself as Leisha's father. He mentions that Leisha is upset because Ars hasn't replied to her letters. Ars recalls his attempts to write back, constantly interrupted. Leisha's father, once skeptical of Ars, now believes he can handle his daughter and apologizes for his earlier hostility. Ars apologizes in return and promises to write back. Back in Lamberg, Lord Raven praises Ars for attending the war council, calling him a grown man. Ars feels happy but acknowledges his weak skills, committing to daily training with Rai. Despite everyone else's improvements, Ars struggles. Rai suggests a break, but Ars refuses, driven to overcome his deficiencies. During a mock battle, Ars is consistently defeated, realizing that book knowledge isn't enough against practical experience. Suddenly, Rose arrives with a letter from Lord Lumi, warning that a neighboring county is invading and they must march against them. Ars is scared but knows his father can't lead, so he gathers his troops and attempts to give a speech. Raven appears and declares he will lead, despite Ars's protests. To prove Ars isn't ready, Raven stages an execution. Ars, unable to stay calm, starts puking, confirming his father's judgment. Raven leads the troops, leaving Ars behind, who cries over his weakness, fearing for his father's safety. The ensuing conflict is a brutal, month-long battle. Despite being outnumbered, Rose's tactics, Char's magic, and Raven and Ray's combat skills lead them to victory. They capture the enemy's castle, and Raven returns home days after Ars's 12th birthday, his condition worsening. Ars, bruised from training, asks Rai about his father's health. Rai explains the situation and notices Ars's injuries, which Ars downplays. Char notes Ars's changed behavior, training obsessively since the war began. A knock at the door reveals Leisha and her butler. Concerned, she apologizes for the late visit and inquires about Ars. She's worried because his recent letters lack emotion. Rai explains Ars's struggles and guilt over his father's declining health. Leisha feels bad for Ars and goes to check on him. She hears intense sparring and sees Ars fighting a soldier, refusing to rest despite his condition. Leisha is about to intervene but changes her mind upon hearing Ars's determination to match his father's efforts. She informs the others to leave him be. Suddenly, a maid announces that Lord Raven has regained consciousness and wants to see Ray, Char, and Rose. They find Raven weak but grateful for their battlefield support. He asks about their lives, and they express their satisfaction. Raven thanks them for their loyalty, admitting he was initially reluctant to accept them but now values their contributions. Raven acknowledges Ars isn't yet ready for battle but sees potential in him. Lord Raven contemplates the heavy burden of thrusting lordship upon Ars at such a young age, acknowledging the cruelty but feeling he has no other choice. Standing on death's doorstep, he realizes how many things he has left undone and regrets not exposing Ars to the battlefield earlier to show him the harsh realities of the world. He had always tried to shield Ars, believing he could protect him, but now it's too late, and he doubts he will survive much longer. Speaking as a father, not a lord, he begs them to support Ars when he can no longer do so, bowing in front of them. Tears fall from Rose's cheeks as he vows to study hard and help Ars with every problem. Char, unsure about leadership, expresses her desire to help Ars realize his dream of creating a utopia, having full faith in him. Rai promises to fight alongside Ars as his sword and shield until death, grateful for the meaning Ars has brought to his life. They thank Lord Raven for entrusting them with this task and take their leave. Leisha is called in next, meeting Lord Raven for the first time. He apologizes for their meeting under such circumstances and reveals he has seen her before, at her mother's funeral, where he noticed her kindness as she cared for her younger brother. Raven had decided to propose a betrothal between her and Ars that day. He begs her to support Ars in managing the territory during his difficult times. Leisha cries, acknowledging Ars's efforts to emulate his father, which brings a smile to Raven's face as he notes her genuine love for him. She leaves the chamber, finding Rai gazing solemnly at the moon, and after she moves out of sight, he bursts into uncontrollable tears over Raven's condition. Ars is called in next, carrying medicine and discussing his research on Raven's condition, claiming some breakthroughs. Raven tells Ars to sit beside him and shares his story. He was from a poor territory with a corrupt lord, taxing the farmers heavily. Disgusted, Raven ran away, reaching the main town and seeing the mayor for the first time. Inspired, he learned to wield a sword and distinguished himself in battles, eventually becoming the Lord of Lamberg, where his life truly began. Raven tells Ars not to blame himself, urging him to be strong and take care of the people. Ars breaks down but then pulls himself together, promising to be a just and good lord and protect his people and family. They talk through the night, and by morning, Lord Raven has passed away. The funeral is held that evening, with nearly all of Lamberg attending to honor their just and good lord. Ars comforts his siblings and addresses the people, sharing the lessons his father taught him. He admits he is not as strong or seasoned as his father, but promises to care for them to the best of his abilities and asks for their support during these tough times. The people are deeply touched, chanting his name and pledging to follow him to the depths of hell. Char recalls Raven checking on her during a battle, advising her to take it easy. Rose remembers Raven giving him a blanket while studying on a cold winter night, urging him not to overwork. Ars feels grateful for the loyal people around him, thanking them as they kneel before him, marking the beginning of his reign. Weeks pass, and everything seems stable under Ars's leadership. He visits his father's grave, speaking to him about his efforts to fulfill his duties. Despite feeling inadequate compared to Lord Raven, Ars acknowledges the excellent support from his friends and retainers. Suddenly, Rai, Char, and Rose arrive, informing him of a war council meeting with the lord of their county. They reach the county of Kanar, where the council honors Lord Raven's memory and commends Ars for his commitment. They discuss supporting the older brother in the ongoing conflict, despite the younger brother's superior army. Ars proposes an investigation before attacking the defiant region of Paner, suspecting something amiss. Back home, Ars and his companions are approached by children from the orphanage Char used to care for. The old lady running the orphanage thanks Ars for funding its construction, enabling it to take in many children. The children share their aspirations, thanking Ars, who redirects their gratitude to Char for her contributions. Char reflects on her decision to leave the children, realizing it was the right choice. Amidst this joyful scene, Lisha arrives, surprising Ars. She explains she accompanied her father to the war council and sought Ars upon hearing he was there. A young girl dirties Lisha's royal dress, causing Ars to panic, but Lisha remains unbothered and joins the children, playing with them. Ars feels lucky to have such a fiancé. That night, they decide to stay in the orphanage. Lisha talks with Ars and Rose while Char sleeps on the bed with the kids. Ars explains his plan to meet with a spy group called the Shadows and to infiltrate enemy territory for information. Lisha finds this interesting and insists on accompanying him. Ars initially declines, citing the danger, but Lisha's confidence in Rai's protection convinces him to agree. Lisha, however, surprises Ars by announcing she has brought her things and will sleep at the orphanage. Embarrassed, Ars offers to find her a room, but she insists on sleeping together. Char soon wakes up and suggests they all sleep together, forcing Rose to join as well. Ars and Rose struggle to sleep through the night. The next morning, Rai brings the good news that he has arranged a meeting with the Shadows. They bid goodbye to the orphanage and head to a tavern. Inside, a burly man tries to turn them away, but Rai uses a code word, and they are shown to a table. As Ars looks around using his magic eye, he is startled to see that the waitress serving them is actually a man with incredible stats. Excusing himself to the washroom to verify his magic eye's accuracy, he is ambushed by the waitress, who turns out to be the leader of the Shadows, Pham. Pham demands to know how Ars discovered his true identity, but before Ars can respond, Rai intervenes. Lisha also enters, calmly informing Pham that Ars is the Lord of Lamberg and heir to the Levant family. She threatens Pham if he ever endangers Ars again. Pham, amused, agrees to take the job but is curious about Ars's powers. After Ars explains, Pham leads them to a back room for a discussion. Despite Ars's confusion about how Rai and Lisha knew he was in danger, Lisha explains that Ars's expressions gave it away. In the back room, Ars details the mission, and Pham agrees to it, requesting payment in advance. Ars is surprised when Pham estimates he can gather the information in just 5 days. While Ars and his friends are busy with Pham, Char enjoys her food. Upon their return, Lisha informs Char that they have successfully enlisted the leader of the Shadows, much to Char's disappointment at not meeting Pham herself. Pham, playing the role of a friendly waitress, brings them complimentary pancakes and winks at Ars as he leaves. 5 days later, Ars and Rai return to the tavern to meet Pham, who is alone. Pham reveals that he personally conducted the investigation, producing an alliance paper signed by various nobles, including the Perrin and Massa counties, which indicates their loyalty to the younger son of the Duke. Rai points out that Massa County's alliance would give the younger son a significant advantage due to its strong army. Doubting the paper's authenticity, Rai questions Pham, who assures him it came directly from the Perrin County chief's house. Ars is impressed by Pham's efficiency and cool demeanor, likening him to a real-life ninja. Despite Ars's offer to pay Pham refuses, considering it an apology for his earlier rudeness and an investment. Ars appreciates the gesture and promises to pay more for the next mission. They decide to report Massa County's betrayal to the council immediately. Lord Lumi, after receiving the alliance paper, initially questions its authenticity. Once Ars vouches for it, Lumi considers the situation's seriousness and orders his assistant to inform their allies. Lumi praises Ars's hard work, but the assistant notices discrepancies in the Massa chief's seal and signature compared to an official letter they have. Lumi speculates that Perrin County was deceived into believing the fake signature, leading them to side with the younger son. Ars and his friends are stunned, and Lumi reassures them of his assistant's keen observation skills. Ars, using his appraisal skill, confirms the assistant's high intelligence and observation stats, although it doesn't fully reveal the assistant's true abilities. After that, Ars wants to know why someone would set up an obvious lie that will soon be found out. Rai believes it was just a ploy to buy time, and Rose agrees, suggesting that the enemy is using Perrin as a stepping stone, letting them face their forces first while the main enemy forces remain unharmed. Lumi figures out another aspect. He believes the enemy forces are after the exploding Monon, rare and powerful magic stones found only in Perrin County, which can be used to cast powerful spells and create formidable weapons. Hearing all this, Rose suggests that they should not invade Perrin. He explains that since Perrin was supposed to be on their side originally, fighting it would mean walking right into the younger son's trap. Rose believes their best course of action is to tell Perrin the truth and make it ally with him instead. Lumi thinks this is a good idea but mentions that he has sent numerous messages to Perrin without receiving any response. However, the genius strategist has a plan for that too. First, Ars visits the leader of Massa County with the alliance paper. The leader is shocked to see that someone forged his seal and signature, swearing that it is a fake as he signed no such document. Ars replies that they were already expecting that and that the fake alliance paper was created by the younger son to trick Perrin into joining them. He requests Count Massa to write an official letter to tell Perrin that the signature is fake, but the Count is too furious and decides to go there personally to clear the misunderstanding. A few days later, Ars visits the chief of Perrin with the alliance paper. The chief decides to inquire about the alliance paper later and first asks Ars about the purpose of his visit. Ars says that his territory wants to join Perrin and support the second son after learning about Massa County allying with them. The chief is excited to hear this, and Ars adds that even Lord Lumi plans to leave the first son's camp and join them. Ars explains that small territories like theirs should always strive to be on the winning side, impressing the chief with his wisdom. The chief decides to accept Ars as an ally and walks up to him, suggesting they talk with the second son, Bassa, about letting him join them. He reaches out for a handshake, but Ars says he wants to confirm if the alliance paper is real before proceeding. The chief tells him that Lord Bassa gave it to him personally, so it must be genuine. Ars then talks about how Massa County was loyal to Lord Curran, and betraying him suddenly seems out of character. He adds that even if they think Lord Bassa has the advantage in the upcoming war, choosing to ally with him will surround them with enemies on all sides. Ars says that believing something without truly examining it is foolish. The chief realizes that Ars never planned to join his side and only wrote the letter to get there. He commands his soldiers to kill Ars, but Rai quickly jumps into action, stopping the soldiers with a death stare for even thinking about harming his master. Ars tells everyone to stop and assures the chief that they are not there to fight but to convey something very important. The parent chief remains skeptical, but then Ars signals to the second person with him, who takes off his cloak. It turns out that the guy is the leader of Massa County himself, and everyone freaks out upon seeing him. Count Massa declares that the alliance paper is fake and that he never signed it. He asks the Paren chief if he still wishes to join Boss's side after knowing all this. Nervously, the Paren chief says that after learning the truth, he wants to side with Lord Curran, but he had already betrayed him before. He is worried that Lord Curran won't accept him now. Count Massa believes his worries are legitimate and tells him that because their territory has a large population, it makes them strong but also means there are more people to protect. He insists that any lord would want that, but it is Lord Curran's fault that he was fooled and almost led his people to their demise. Count Massa then says that since it was Ars who informed him of this matter, he wants to leave the final decision in his hands. Ars freaks out because he was not ready for this, but after steadying himself, he says that it is only human to make mistakes. He adds that he doesn't want to cut off Lord Paren just because of one mistake, smiling as he says he is glad they were able to resolve this matter without any violence. He tells Lord Paren that this is his second chance and asks him to join their side. The old man gratefully takes his offer and promises to be useful to them in the war. Everyone is pleased with this solution, and Count Massa decides to head home because there is nothing more for him to do here. He tells Ars to inform Lord Lumi about this too, and Ars promises to do so. He also thanks Count Massa for coming all the way here with him, and Count Massa replies that he doesn't need to be thanked. He credits Ars for this peaceful resolution and says that brilliant people like him are the hope of their country. Ars is glad to hear the praise, but Count Massa concludes by telling him that he needs to work a lot on his acting, though. Afterward, Ars visits his father's grave and tells him all about the incident with Paren County. Soon, Rye and Rose come there, remarking that the winds have started to grow cold. Ars also realizes this and says that it seems winter is coming. He then thanks Rye and Rose, saying that thanks to them, this whole matter ended without anyone getting hurt. He then walks to the edge of the cliff overlooking his territory. He says how the lords of Paren and Massa County are both working hard to keep their people safe. After seeing them, Ars has also started dreaming of becoming a great lord. However, he knows that he cannot do anything without the help of his loyal allies. Rye promises to always be by his side and protect him no matter what kind of enemy he faces. Just then, a maid comes running to tell Ars that a guest has come. Moments later, Lord Lumi is at his location. He first pays his respects to Raven and apologizes for coming too late. Then he reveals that Lord Curran wants to meet Ars. Ars freaks out upon hearing that because there is too big a level gap between them, and he says that he can't possibly meet someone as important as Lord Curran. Lumi replies that he reported the matter with Paren to Curran, who seemed to be very interested in Ars. This is still too much for Ars to process, and he says that he will try to prepare himself mentally to see him. To his shock, he doesn't have any time to do that. Lumi tells Ars that they are going to depart right now, and Ars freaks out yet again. He says that he doesn't even have any gifts prepared and starts backing away, but Rye and Rose tell him to stop hesitating. They say that this is their chance to get ahead, so they must go. Ars decides to accept their advice, even though he is still too nervous. Soon, they ride in the carriage, and Rose asks Rye if they are doing the right thing by leaving Char behind. Rye believes that taking everyone along is not feasible and plans to buy some nice gifts for her on their way back to make it up to her. They turn around and ask Ars if he is doing well, and he tells them that he is fine while sweating buckets. He still can't believe that a lowly rural lord like him has been summoned by Curran, who will become the Duke of the territory soon. Ars asks his friends what exactly is the occasion, and they tell him that it is a big party in which all the major nobles reporting to Curran will be present. They claim that it is probably a party to boost everyone's morale before the war, but Ars feels his morale drowning as he thinks about being in the midst of various big shots. Soon, they reach the trading city of Simpa, which is their destination. The scale and grandness of the city impress everyone, and Ars hopes that one day he can make Lamberg as prosperous as this. He soon arrives at the Shra Castle along with Lord Lumi, trying to act confident. However, since everyone is staring at him because of his age, he quickly becomes a nervous mess again. He notices that Lumi is quite popular and respected among other nobles, and many people come to greet him. Lumi calls Ars too, introducing him to his peers. The heralds announce the arrival of Lord Curran, and everyone bows their heads to greet him. As Curran tells them to rise, Ars looks at his status and finds that he is an S-rank knight with ambition, command, and prowess well above 90. Ars is blown away by his high stats and believes that Curran is truly a person worthy of being their leader. However, that makes him recall that the second son, Bosa, is said to be even more talented than Curran. Ars wonders how great Bosa must be to overwhelm someone like Curran. He starts doubting that either Bosa uses some other means to appear great or someone is trying to lower Curran's reputation through rumors. Curran then addresses everyone, talking about how their Duchy of Mission is going through tough times because his younger brother, Bosa, waged war on him even though he is the rightful heir. Curran says that it is unfortunate that the Empire has decided not to intervene in their matters even when they are heading into a civil war. He declares that in the past 200 years, the Empire has become greatly corrupt and fallen from glory. He says that the current Empire doesn't have long to last and soon it will crumble down, giving way to a new era. Curran declares that when he wins the war against Bosa, he will become the ruler of Mission and declare it as the nation of Mission. Everyone is bowled over by his high ambitions and wonders if he plans to declare Mission as a free nation after gaining independence from the Empire. Curran says that winning wars and building up a nation are not easy feats. But with the power and brilliance of everyone present in the room, he is certain that nothing can stop them. He throws his fist in the air, saying that they will surely be victorious, and everyone cheers with him. With that, Curran begins talking about the Lord of Lamberg who achieved something amazing recently. He calls Ars to the center, and Ars freezes upon hearing that. Ryan and Rose wish him all the best and push him forward, and then Ars stumbles forward before greeting Curran. Curran calls him by his side so everyone can see his face. He then places his hand on Ars's shoulder, saying that Ars was the one who exposed Bosa's shameless ploy and stopped the county of Perrin from joining his side. Everyone is surprised to hear that a mere kid did that, but Curran says that age is just a number, and the most important thing is the result. He says that Ars has already accomplished more than anyone else here and asks everyone to applaud him. Lumi starts clapping, and one by one, everyone joins him. Ars is flustered and can only thank everyone for this applause. The festivities start after that, and Ars is busy greeting other nobles who are curious about him now. Rai comes there with a plate full of food, but one look at his face and he realizes that Ars is feeling nauseous after talking to too many strangers. He goes outside to get some fresh air and leans on the railing, thinking about how socializing in politics suck. Just then, Curran appears next to him and asks if he is not feeling well. Ars freaks out upon seeing him, and Curran says that he just wanted to have a nice chat with him. Curran claims that he has heard about Ars collecting some talented subordinates and that Lumi also talks very highly of him, which is quite rare. Ars gets flustered and says that he is nothing special without his subordinates. Curran then asks him what he thinks about his subordinates. Ars tried appraising all the nobles he met earlier, but he didn't find anyone particularly remarkable. Now, he wonders what he should tell the Lord and decides to come clean. He apologizes to Curran and says that there seemed to be no one amazing among the nobles who serve him. Curran sternly asks him if he thinks his subordinates are better than his, and Ars confidently replies that they are. Curran starts laughing at this and then says that he is right. He looks at the nobles inside and says that they are good people who are serious and motivated about their goals, but they are missing something when it comes to ability. He says that winning a war with the human resources they have will be tough. Ars asks him to elaborate, and Curran says that there are many talented people on the other side. He says that even if they have a stronger army and more money, it is not meaningful if the leader is incompetent. Curran then says that this is the exact reason he is really happy about hearing the work Ars did. He says that he has great hopes for him, and Ars can only thank him. Curran then thinks for a while and tells Ars that if they win the war and he proves his worth, he will make him the Count of Kanar. This freaks Ars out, and he asks what will happen to Lord Lumi then. Curran says that he plans to give him an even bigger title and territory after the war because he is one of his most trusted and talented subordinates. Ars still finds it hard to accept the promised reward, but Curran says that it is only right to reward someone who performs well. He begins leaving with that and then turns around to ask Ars if he can have his subordinates. Ars refuses frantically, saying that they are all precious to him. Curran laughs because he was expecting that. He then tells Ars to become a member of his war council along with his subordinates because he wants to hear their valuable opinions. Before that, he wants him to find some more talented people for him. He leaves with that, and Ars is full of determination to not let Curran down. On the other hand, Bosa's two loyal subordinates inform him that their ploy in Perrin was discovered. The balding man named Tomas and the old man named Lias believe that they don't have to worry about anything. They claim that they have already extracted more than enough mana from Perrin. Also, they believe that they will surely win the war because, apart from Curran, his army has no talented commanders. They believe that their chances of losing are incredibly slim, But Bosa is not satisfied with that. He declares that he only fights the battles he can surely win and asks his 2 loyal vassals to make sure that their chances of winning reach 100% before the war starts. On that note, Bosa asks Tomas about a woman called Maya that he wants to hire. Tomas first says that he has no idea where Maya is, possibly drinking herself to death right now. And second, he doesn't think it is a good idea to hire her. He tells Bosa that even though she may be talented, she is no longer useful. He says that no self-respecting noble would hire her, and Bosa says that he hopes Tomas is right about that. The next day, Ars returns to his house, where he tells Char that they are going to join Lord Curran's war council. She expresses her amusement at this as she munches the snacks that Rose and Ryan brought for her. Ars then says that Curran also wanted him to find more talented people to serve him, and he asks Rai if he knows of any way to find new talented people. Rai believes that it will be best to leave this matter to Pham because he can get them all the information they need. The next day, they visit Pham and give him the job of finding talented people. Ars says there won't be any penalty for finding someone who is not talented enough. Also, he promises to pay a bonus of 20 gold coins if he manages to find anyone really remarkable. Pham is really glad to hear these terms and accepts the job immediately. Ars and Rai leave the tavern after that, when suddenly a drunk hooded woman bumps into him. She helps him up, and even though his subordinates are angry, Ars easily forgives her. The woman then enters Pham's tavern, and he uses his best fanboy voice to say that they are not open yet. However, the woman takes off her hood and says that she is not here to eat but to get a job. She can even tell that Pham is a man, and she asks him to hire her. Just then, one of Pham's underlings comes there, and he recognizes the woman as Maya because they are old drinking buddies. Maya doesn't recognize him, but she wants her drinking buddy to help her find a job because she is dead broke and homeless right now. The man refuses to help her because she has already borrowed too much money from him and tries pushing her out. However, Pham says that he wants to hire Maya because she looks interesting and they need more hands anyway. The man is shocked and asks Pham if he is certain about that, but he assures him that everything will be fine. Maya is glad that she is hired and begins working immediately. She messes up the orders right from the beginning, begins drinking without permission, and then spills food on customers while trying to serve them. The man is fed up with her, but one cold gesture from Pham makes him change his stance. Pham and Maya eat together, and he tries getting her to reveal information about herself. Maya tells him that it is not a good thing for a man to inquire about a lady's past. She then says that since Pham is a cute fanboy, she will tell him one thing about her. Maya says that she has a stupid younger brother, and they both used to work for an old man, but he recently died, or so she heard. Pham asks her about the old man, and Maya says that he was quite poor but an interesting old man who had high dreams. Turns out that the old man she is referring to is the late Duke of Mission. The man refuses to believe this story, but Maya has Pham's complete attention now. She says that staying in one place was boring, so she quit working for the old man and started traveling. She soon turned broke after spending all her money on alcohol and ended up here. Maya says that she doesn't mind being broke and homeless because it is more fun this way. Pham tells her that he knows of a more fun place to work and asks her if she would like to go there. Later that day, Ars and his friends receive a letter from Pham telling them that he has already found a talent. Just as they finish reading the letter, a maid tells them that they have a visitor who is interested in working here. They head out to meet the person Pham has sent, and everyone is doubtful because it has not even been one full day yet. They reach the gate and find that Pham has brought the drunk Maya with him. Ars remembers her as the drunk woman who bumped into him yesterday, and she laughs as she apologizes even though she doesn't remember anything. She then asks Ars if he really is the Lord of Lamberg, and he affirms. His subordinates don't seem to be impressed by Maya, and even Ars wonders if she is really capable. He decides to appraise her stats first, and what he finds blows him away. Her intellect and ambition are both above 100, and she is an S-class strategist. Not only that, she is stronger than most elite knights, and Ars steps back, calling her a monster,